Hello everyone and welcome back to my English classes online intermediate level. Today's lesson is all about basic article usage. Articles are the words the, an, or a. We've got some great examples and we're going to show you how to use each and every one of them. So let's get started. Let's start off by looking at an and a. The articles an and a are used before countable nouns in their singular form. Let's have a look at the first column to see some examples. So first thing we see here is, I want to buy a book and I need an umbrella today. Now we know that if the countable noun starts with a vowel, then we're going to use an. But if it doesn't start with a vowel, we're going to use a. For example, book doesn't start with a vowel, so we use a. But umbrella, U is one of our vowels, a, e, I, o, u. So we're going to use it with an. Now we don't just follow this rule with words that start with the vowel in the way that it looks, but also in the way that it sounds. Let's have a look at the next column. So here it says, I have worked for an hour. Now we know that H is not one of our vowels. A, e, I, o, u. It's not one of them. But listen to the way that it sounds. We don't say hour. We say an hour. And because it has the sound like a vowel, then we use an. The same thing goes for our next example. There is a university near my house. Now university starts with a vowel. So that means we should be using an. But listen to the sound of university. It's not university, it's university. And because it has a sound that isn't like a vowel, we're going to use a. So, when we think about vowels, think about two things, spelling and sound. So, if it sounds like a vowel, then we're going to use an. If it doesn't sound like a vowel, and if it isn't spelled like a vowel, we're going to use a. There are a few words that we should be cautious of because they can be confusing. One of them we've already looked at, an hour. Here it starts with an H, which is not a vowel, but we're using an. Another one is a university. University starts with a vowel, but we're not using an. An honest man. H is not a vowel, but it sounds like one, so we're using an. And a union, again, we said U doesn't sound like U, it doesn't sound like a vowel, so we're treating it like it's a non-vowel, so a union. And a eucalyptus tree. E is one of our vowels, but again, listen to the way it sounds, eucalyptus tree. Because of that, we're not going to use an and we're going to use a. Okay, so now we're going to look at how to use the. The article the is a bit of a tricky one. People often make mistakes with it, so pay real close attention to this next bit. We use the article the when we're having a conversation about something that both people know about already. So it's a conversation about something that we have already discussed or we have already mentioned in the conversation. Let's have a look at an example. So our first example there says, I liked the movie we watched yesterday. So, in this conversation, we're talking about a movie, but specifically the movie we watched yesterday. So, we both know which movie I'm talking about. So, if it was a general movie, I would say I like to go to watch movies. But here I'm speaking about the movie from last night or yesterday. So, it's specific. We also use the article the for situations that are unique, for things that are existing one in a million or one in the universe. For example, the earth or the sun or the president. These are things that you find one in the whole world or one in each country. Let's have a look at an example. The earth revolves around the sun. The earth is something unique, only one of them, and the sun is also unique, only one of those. So we can see that these are things that because they are unique, it can be assumed that we both or both people in the conversation know about them. So we can say the earth and the sun because they are specific and unique. I can also say the president is giving a speech because usually countries only have one president, and that means we'll all know which president I am speaking about if I say the president is giving a speech. So I mentioned that we use the for situations that are unique. We also have to pay attention to situations like the first or the last or the second or the third. These are also unique situations because there can only be one person who is the first and one person who is the last. So, for example, I can also say, the first man to walk on the moon was Neil Armstrong. So I've used the article the here because the first man is unique. There is no other first man to walk on the moon. When we're speaking about things in general or we're making general statements, we don't need to use articles at all. Let's have a look at these examples. Apples are good for your health. Here we're speaking about apples in general. There is no need for me to say the apples are good for your health. I could also say, however, an apple is good for your health if I want to speak about apples in that sense. So I can speak about them generally. Apples are good for your health, and I can also say an apple is good for your health. In this situation, both are correct. When it comes to using plural nouns, we can also use them without using an article. For example, students must always study hard. We don't have to say the students here. We can just say students. The same goes for our last example. Poets always need inspiration. Poets is a general group and not a specific one, so we don't have to use an article beforehand. Okay, so let's look at what we've learned so far. Now, we already know that we use the article the before definite nouns. Definite nouns meaning nouns that we've already discussed previously in the conversation or that me and the other person already know about. For example, I have an apple and a banana. Do you want the apple? I already mentioned the apple previously, so you know which apple I'm talking about. And that's why I say the apple. We also said that it's really important to pay attention to the words like the best, the second, the last, the only. These are examples of superlatives, and superlatives also work with the article the. For example, Sarah is the best student in my class. We also said that certain unique things also get the article the. For example, the sun, the moon, the earth, the president, and the king. Now, let's have a look at some specific situations where we use the and where we don't use the. Rivers, oceans, and seas all get the article the before them. For example, the Nile, the Pacific, or the Atlantic Ocean. All of those have the article the before. But when it comes to lakes, we don't put an article beforehand. So, for example, Lake Titicaca or Lake Erie don't have an article before them. For a group of many mountains, we're going to put the article the before, like the Rockies or the Andes. But if we're speaking about just one mountain, then we're not going to put the in front of them. For example, Mount Fuji or Mount Everest. There's no need for an article before that. Normally, we don't put articles before countries. So countries like Italy, Bolivia, or Croatia do not have the article before them. But in the exception of the Netherlands, the Philippines, and the United States, those countries actually have the article the before them. If you notice, all three of those exception countries also have S's at the end of their names. So the Philippines, the United States, and the Netherlands. When speaking about a whole nationality, we will put an article before and we're going to put the article. So for example, the English or the French, when speaking about the whole nationality, we're going to use the article. But when we're speaking about languages like English, French, or German, we're not going to put an article before that. Lastly, we have a similar rule for the islands. So if I have many islands that I'm speaking about, such as the Canary Islands, then I'm going to put the article before it to make it the Canary Islands. But if I'm speaking about just one island, then I'm not going to put any article before that. For example, Easter Island. I'm not putting any article there because it's just one island that I'm speaking about. Alright, so now we've covered all the basic usage of articles. Now you can get started on the activities and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!